Hachette Audio presents Not That Wheel, Jesus. Stories from a faith that went off-road in the best and worst possible ways. Written by Katherine Backstrom. Read by me, the author. To Caroline, Cole, Cooper, and Kate, for opening your hearts and letting me into your world. I love it here, and I love you big. Disclaimer. Let's be honest. I have a dramatic brain and enough trauma to make my memory Swiss cheese. So I've been left to piece together the rest, and I've done the best I can. This is my story, as I remember it. If you remember it differently, write a book. I really would love to read that. Some names have been changed, and some individuals are composites. If some of my people remind you of yourself, congrats, my friend! Or my apologies. I guess that depends entirely on your life choices. Chapter 1. Jesus, Take the Wheel. For the first 32 years of my life, I self-identified as the weirdest person in all the rooms. From childhood to college, and even in the bonds of marriage, this was the throne that I claimed. My personality is that of the comic relief, the one who breaks the ice with a sledgehammer. My stories were the strangest, my laugh the most unhinged, my jokes the most off the wall. And then I met Sarah Baker. It's not often that you'll find a queen who is happy to lose her throne, but I was happy to lose this one. In exchange for losing the title of the weirdest person in all the rooms, I gained the funniest, most wonderful damn friend in the world. For every ridiculous story I have, she has one that is a bit more ridiculous. For every witty punchline I land, she has some cheese to melt on top. And it's not that she's a one-upper. That's not Sarah's style. That woman does not hold back, but she also competes with no one. I know she's always ready to provide the assist. It's just who she is, from the outside in, from her flawless skin to her funny bones. You might be picking up on the fact that I love this woman, and that's true. Sarah's my bestie. She's 1/3 of the trio that make up my wolf pack, with Meredith completing the trinity. Mare is the glue that pieces us back together when we fall apart, and the voice of reason that tugs us back down to earth. Sarah's the third that makes us laugh till we cry, or cry till we laugh. One Monday, I just dropped my kids off at school after a particularly rough morning at home. I needed a friend, and since my besties are in 2 opposite time zones, there's always someone up when I need an ear. Since Mare was still snoring in Utah, I called the one who wouldn't kill me. It was 9 a.m. in Maryland when Sarah picked up. I was about to unpack the specifics of my failings to Sarah as I was driving home from drop-off. How my daughter's hair was still unbrushed, how my son ate a cookie for breakfast, how I'd managed to leave the house without a bra. But just as I was opening my mouth, a cat darted in front of my car. I swerved hard to the left, my tires screeching in protest. A horn blasted from the car just behind me. And as that stupid feline scampered back to safety in a bush by the road, I screamed, "What the hell, Joe?" For a moment, there was silence at the end of the line. Sarah expressed love the only way she knows how. Panicked concern peppered with a string of colorful expletives. "MK, you an idiot! What the happened? Are you alive?" Just barely. I just about died for a cat. Well, that's a dumbass way to die. There's my girl. Wait, who the hell is Joe? I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't even remember saying it. I explained that years ago, my stepdad was driving the family to dinner. I was in the back seat of this old Jeep, and the top was off. It was your typical, beautiful country drive. Zach Brown on the radio, wind in our hair, the whole deal. Until a squirrel ran out directly in front of the Jeep. And Joe didn't really swerve so much as launch us forward against our seatbelts before throwing us back into our seats. It's like he hesitated for a microsecond and thought about it, and then ran over the damn thing. Thump. Maybe I was hormonal, or maybe I was unmedicated, but I believed he'd swerved on purpose, not to avoid the squirrel, but to run it over. So I screamed, "What the hell, Joe?" And God bless the man, he was absolutely mortified. He felt so terrible. And it's funny now, because he's the most gentle man in the world, and while he was clearly trying to avoid a catastrophe with a car full of precious cargo, I interpreted his choice as intentional squirrel slaughter. And in the way that weird, gruesome things can become funny over time, so it happened with the Jeep and Joe and the flattened squirrel. It became a family joke. Anytime a creature runs out in the road, our family yells, "What the hell, Joe?" Another pause on Sarah's end. If those had been your last words, you'd put them on my gravestone. Absolutely. I'd expect nothing less. But can we talk about the fact that I just about died for some feral flea bag? Again, the absolute dumbest way to die. Have I ever told you about the time I got cut out of a wreck with the jaws of life because I swerved to avoid a cat? You know how I said Sarah always has a story? Well, this one was no exception. She was 20 years old, driving home from work on a South Carolina highway, when an orange cat darted across the road and, like me, she swerved hard to the left. Unlike me, though, Sarah lost control of her car and went flying into a tree-filled median. Her car was crushed like a tuna can, and they had to cut her out of the wreckage. Luckily, she emerged mostly unscathed, with little more than a scrape to her finger. I like to imagine that orange cat gifted Sarah one of its multiple lives, because based on a picture of that little car's wreckage, she shouldn't have survived it at all. I wanted to laugh, and we did for a minute, but then the absurdity of the whole thing hit me. One of my very favorite people, one of the brightest lights in my world, was almost extinguished. And for what? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love furry critters. I currently have 6 too many. But I think we should all agree that a human soul weighs a little bit more. And yet, without a single thought for our own mortality, Sarah and I made the same dumb decision: to preserve the existence of whatever was ahead by driving ourselves off the road. No matter the potential consequences or the cost to our own precious lives, when it came down to that split-second steering wheel decision, we just couldn't kill the damn cats. A few years ago, I was driving my son home from church and noticed my notorious chatterbox was being rather quiet. Typically with Ben, I struggled to get a word in edgewise. Radio silence from the back seat? My spidey senses were activated. "Hey, kiddo," I turned the radio down. "What you thinking about? Everything okay?" I watched his face in the rearview mirror and frowned at the tears I saw gathering. "Mama, do you believe that when Gigi dies, she's gonna go to hell?" My stomach hollowed out. I felt a pang of nausea. What made him ask such a thing? Ben and Gigi were both 5 years old and had been best friends since they were in Pampers. They held hands walking into their first day of preschool. They were teammates on their first soccer team. The Purple Sharks had a losing season, but Gigi and Ben were only in it for the Capri Suns anyways. And now, he was sitting in his car seat worried. Not only about his best friend dying, but that she might burn. Forever. Until that very moment of life, I mean that actual precise moment, I had an answer to this question. If somebody dies and they don't believe in Jesus, they go straight to hell. Black and white. Simple. Gigi had never been taught about Jesus, aside from the cultural context that everyone learns at Christmas. She certainly didn't believe in Jesus and would likely never convert. Her parents, my best friends, are the best people that I've ever known. Both caring physicians, generous citizens, and loyal and supportive friends. They are good people.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?